In the snow there were some animal tracks to see, and so they decided to follow the tracks to possibly find animals. They wondered what trace it was, but they were sure that those were of a deer. They also saw those of a hare and stopped at a clear trace of a wolf. "Oh, that must be from a wolf! Come on, we'll follow the trail! Oh, but we have to be careful, not that we will be discovered!" Cheyenne was about to move on when her friend held her. "Hey, I'm really cold, and it's already afternoon. I think we should go home now. And I'm not going after a wolf anyway, and you don't pursue it either, okay?" The girl looked at her best friend. Slowly the snow fell more and more, and an icy wind came up. Well, then let's go home," she agreed, and the two trudged after the tracks they had made while walking. Suddenly, a soft whimper sounded. Cheyenne stopped and looked around. "What is it?" Xaver also came to a halt. "Didn't you hear that?" With a questioning look, the girl stared at him. She knew by now that she could hear way better than her best friend, but the fact that he hadn't heard that noise irritated her. "No, I didn't hear anything. Are you sure you didn't imagine it?" "Yes, definitely." She looked down and closed her eyes. Cheyenne tried to listen again, but now she couldn't perceive anything. What was that? There was definitely something. Maybe an animal." She looked in the direction from which the noise had come. "Well, anyway, come on, I don't want to freeze to death out here." Xaver urged her to continue. His friend, however, stopped. "I need to know what that was." It almost sounded like it needed help. "Hey, Xaver, one last game, okay?" "Oh, Cheyenne, I'm really cold. Please! Because today is a special day. Please, please!" Cheyenne tilted her head and looked at him with dog's eyes. Xaver sighed and closed his eyes briefly. "Well, I can't deny you a wish. So, what else do you want to play? Hide and seek!" "Right. You're counting to 50 and I'm hiding in the meantime, yes?" The boy agreed. He would find her quickly anyway, since there was hardly a place to hide on the plain where they were except a few trees. He started counting and Cheyenne started running. "The noise came from this direction." The girl trudged through the high snow and had continued to pick up her ears, in case she heard the beeping again. Suddenly, this is exactly what happened. "There it was again! It sounds like a whining. It comes from the forest direction." She started walking as best as she could. Now that she was so close to finding out what made the sound, she couldn't let Xaver find her. Meanwhile, the wind increased and the snow fell more and more merciless from the sky. Cheyenne had to blink very often because flakes constantly flew into her eyes. Her eyelashes were already full of snow, and now was the time when even she noticed the cold and began to shiver slightly. "Just keep moving, then I'll get warm again. Poor Xaver, he must be standing there freezing now, but I can't possibly ignore it." "Huh? These are the paw tracks that we saw earlier, which are caused by a wolf. But somehow I shouldn't run into it." She stopped for a moment and then followed the trail with her eyes. "Ah, of course. This leads exactly into the forest where the whining comes from. Oh wait, maybe a wolf got injured and needs help. I could help him and then we would become friends, and I would be the only one in the Undercity with a wolf. But my grandparents wouldn't like that, and people would probably be scared, so... Oh yes, what a pity. But if it's injured, I should help it. I don't like it when animals suffer, even if it's dangerous. I'd better not tell Xaver." With a fixed glance on the trail, she imagined how long her best friend's moral sermon would last and shook her head. "My gosh, I can take care of myself, Xaver. I know exactly what I'm doing." She nodded firmly, determined to follow this trail, and started moving again. Meanwhile, Xaver finished counting and turned around. There was nothing to see of Cheyenne far and wide, only her tracks in the snow. "Do you even think?" The boy shook his head and sighed. He would have found his friend in no time at all. Shivering, he began to follow the trail and rubbed his arms from the cold. The wind increased more and more, and it became darker. Snow also fell more and more and slowly began to erase the traces of Cheyenne. That is not good now. Xaver stopped and watched how quickly the snow shot to the ground. It's getting more and more. If this continues, I'll lose track of her before I find her. An icy, strong breeze swept over the boy and blew snow into his face. He had to turn around to stand against the wind that almost knocked him over. Oh damn, there's bound to be a blizzard. And we're out here, great. Cheyenne, perfect timing as always. And if I could guess, I'd say playing hide and seek was just an excuse for you wanting to follow that wolf trail, or the sound you supposedly heard. Why did I agree to that? We should be on our way home a long time ago. Man, Cheyenne, I hope I find you. Cheyenne ran closer and closer to the edge of the forest. By now she was very far away from her home, and she also noticed that it was getting darker and icier. A snowstorm was coming, and it certainly wasn't an easy one. She couldn't see anything of the paw tracks in the snow, and she wouldn't be able to trace her own tracks. She would have to rely on her sense of direction to get back home. If I had known that, I would have told Xaver to go home. He will never find me. I hope he just goes home and doesn't freeze to death out here. She stopped. The wind was now so strong that it threw her off balance, and the snow was so deep that it already reached above her knees, and it became more and more. She decided to seek shelter from the storm under the trees in the forest. She hadn't heard the noise for a while. Xaver could hardly see his own hand in front of his eyes, so much snow fell from the sky. He had to constantly fight against the wind to move forward. I have no idea where I am right now. He had gotten lost, and there was no trace of his friend. I never thought I could lose track of her in the snow, but ta-da! I did the impossible. Great. His whole body was shaking, and he was unsure what to do. He knew it would soon be dark, and then he would be lost out here. He would not survive the night in the cold if he had not been eaten by wild animals before freezing to death. Cheyenne... On the other hand, he was worried about his friend. Cheyenne, where are you? Come on, it's getting dangerous. We have to go home. It's getting dark. Cheyenne, come out! His cries were lost in the wind, and there was no answer. Meanwhile, it was getting darker and darker, not only because of the increasing clouds, but also because of the onset of night. They had really been playing outside all day, and soon Xaver would be blind as a mole in the darkness. Damn, what do I do now? He stopped, trembling, and tried to find his balance against the strong wind. He didn't want to leave his friend out here alone, but he couldn't find her, and it would soon be pitch black. He got lost himself, and noticed how he was getting tired from the cold and finding it difficult for him to walk. With a heavy heart, he decided to break off the search for his friend and look for a way home. I'm sure you've gotten lost too. I get help and chroma lanterns. Don't worry, Cheyenne, I'll find you. Please hold on.